So, hello and welcome to the second gender pay gap report in this series, where I'm going to be looking at gender pay gap reports that firms have put out, doing a quick analysis and giving some tips on a quick action plan that firms can take to close their pay gaps. So let's dive into the second one. Now, this one that I've taken is for a consulting engineering firm. They have less than 250 people, so technically, again, they didn't need to report, but they felt that it was good for their business to have that data and have the information about what's going on in their firm. So their mean pay gap is 28.4% and the median pay gap is 50.4%. So pretty high numbers that we've got there. Bonus pay gaps, the mean is 20.9% and the median is 20%. Now this for me is where it gets interesting, looking at the quartiles. And the quartiles are where women are placed within the organisation. So for the lower quartile, we have 75% men compared to 25% women. Lower middle, 60% men, 40% women. Upper middle, 100% men, no percent women, is that word, 0%, and upper 80% men and 20% women. Now, it's not surprising to see that there are clusters of women in the lower and lower middle quartile and hardly any in the upper quartile. But what I found most interesting is the upper middle, the fact that it is purely 100% men. Now, I obviously don't have any other data on this firm, so I don't know what types of jobs are in that upper middle. I don't know what the departments are. I only have the figures from the gender pay gap report that they put in. But it is surprising to see no women in the upper middle. And so the first thing I was thinking when I saw that was, I wonder why, and that's kind of what I would be delving into, because it's quite stark to see that there. So in terms of next steps, if I was working with this firm, what would I be recommending? Well, the first thing is an equal pay audit. I say that to all firms, you should be doing an equal pay audit because it's a good starting point for you to see if pay is an issue to do with your gender pay gap. Because obviously, as we know, gender pay gap, lots and lots of different reasons why they're there, but you can eliminate whether it is a money situation. Is it to do with the pay that men and women get, and is there discrimination between men and women doing the same like work or similar work or work rated as equivalent? So this is a fairly small firm. It would be very easy for them to do, and again, it's all about embedding good habits while they're small so that it just becomes the norm as they grow as an organisation. So first one is to do an equal pay audit. The second thing is around talking to their staff. So that would include current staff that are there and previous staff, and trying to dig into that zero that was in the in that band C, where there were no women, trying to find out why there's no women in the upper middle quartile. Because if there was ever anywhere that I wouldn't be surprised to see zero women, it's usually the upper quartile, right at the top of the head of the organisation. And it's surprising for me to see that there was, 20% women in the upper quartile, but upper middle, no women. So I would be simply talking, finding out what is going on between those two bands. Why is it that there are women in the band below, the band above, but not that upper middle quartile? Obviously, I use the word quartile and band intermittently, so they're essentially the same thing. But I would be trying to find out, well, what is the story behind that zero? Because that zero is telling us something, as well as the fact that there's no women there. It's the starting story of, well, why is that? And the best way to do that is to talk to your people, find out from them. Find out from them. They're the ones that are living the experience. And if you have women that have left the organisation, and if you are on good speaking terms with them, and you didn't do exit interviews, try and contact them as well to find out, what was the reason, not only for them leaving, but if they would have considered going into that upper middle quartile, what was it that was stopping them? So consulting your staff is what I would say for the second one, because you'll be able to gain so much information from talking to people who are living that lived experience of working for you. And if you can try and get the data anonymously as well, that would be really helpful, because that would help people feel confident that they can say what's actually going on and not be worried about any repercussions coming their way. Another aspect about having the zero is trying to find out if it's a case of women are in that band but they leave. So by the time that the pay gap report was handed in, there used to be women there, but they might have left. So that's something to consider as well. Obviously, because I'm not in the organisation, I don't know if that's the case. But there could be a myriad of reasons why it's zero. And for this firm, it's their job to find out. And then once they know, they can take action on the information that they've been given. And then the third one is around reviewing the promotion process. So this is about digging into the day-to-day of how this organisation is run. Because as you can see in the data, there are women clustered in the lower quartile and lower middle. Obviously, you get to the upper middle, there's nobody, and then upper, there's very few women. So it could be a promotion issue. And so I would be interested in digging into, well, how are promotions decided? Who decides promotions, and based on what? Is there consistency in who gets promoted and who doesn't? Are there patterns around how promotions are done? This is about digging for the stories behind the data. Yes, there may be less women in this organisation than men, but that doesn't mean to say that just parachuting women in at different levels is going to solve the gender pay gap issue that this firm has. This is this firm needs to be looking at the sustainability. How do they retain their talent? And part of the retention is upskilling them and then giving staff the opportunity to use those skills and stay and grow within the organisation. But they can only do that if there is a robust promotion process in place. So I would be digging into the promotion process and finding out, well, how are people promoted in this organisation? So like I said, digging for the stories behind the data. And so that's it. That's my top headline snapshot based on the data that was given in the gender pay gap report. I hope that you found it useful. If you have any questions, if you can see yourself or your organisation in some of the figures that were given and some of the information that I've talked about, and you want to talk about closing your pay gaps, then please do contact me. My email is on the screen. I would love to talk to you about helping you close your gender pay gap. And I will see you in the next video.